brawler Starr Nova is finally here, so here's a full guide on how to use her. Now I'll be covering Starr Nova's mechanics and how she works, the best build that you need to use for her, and the best game modes and mistakes to avoid for this insane floating brawler. And yeah, make sure to like and subscribe because I'm on my way to 200,000 subscribers, okay? So yeah, Starr Nova is the newest mythic assassin in the game, another mythic brawler, bro. Let's start with Starr Nova's main attack, Nova Hair Go. Starr Nova basically uses her hair as a weapon, and she fires 2 projectiles from 1 ammo. Each projectile does 1080 damage, so per ammo, she is doing 2160 damage, which is pretty average for this brawler, to be honest. Starr Nova's range is also pretty decent, and for comparison, it is a bit longer than Cordelius's range. Starr Nova also has a fast reload speed. Now, it's not crazy fast like Edgar's reload speed, but it is decently fast, okay? But yeah, moving on to Starr Nova's super Nova Crystal Transform. This super is crazy, bro. It's not even funny. Basically, Starr Nova dashes and transforms into her ultimate mode thing. This allows her to gain a 25% movement speed boost and 30% healing from damage she deals. Her attack is different during the super, and she now swings her Nova Sword, which has a short range. Each hit that you land deals 2000 damage, which is insane, and the super lasts for 7 seconds. And for reference, you have a small timer on the bottom of your ammo, which shows how much time you have left for your super. Now, this is crazy because first of all, look how wide the range of the sword is, bro. You can easily hit an entire group of enemies. Also, because of the fast movement speed during the super, you're easily able to chase down enemies and whack them out of existence. And you can do even more damage with Starr Nova by using this crazy build, which I will break down later in the video. At power 11, Starr Nova has 7400 health and a very fast movement speed as well. Overall though, this brawler is very fun. Her mechanics are simple but effective and fun at the same time. I would have to say that her main attack did feel a bit weak when playing matches, especially against those tanks with over 10,000 health. But Starr Nova isn't crazy broken like when Damien released. Supercell could look into buffing her main attack damage, but she is still a solid brawler overall. Now, Starr Nova may not be completely broken like Damien, but her gadgets and star powers are extremely versatile, which still makes her a great brawler for ranked and trophy pushing. If you don't know how her abilities work though, you're probably going to lose a lot of trophies and elo and rank, so let's break down all of Starr Nova's abilities. Starr Nova's first gadget, Floaty Time, is kind of a funny gadget, but it can actually be really beneficial. Using this gadget allows you to deploy an anti-gravity device, which allows you and your teammates to float inside of the area. So if I were to throw this gadget behind this wall right over here, my teammates and I can float in this area and also float above the walls and even enemies, as long as we're in the area. Now this device thing does lose health over time, so eventually you and your teammates will no longer be floating. Also, enemies can destroy the device, which would cause you and your teammates to stop floating. You can use this gadget defensively and offensively as well. This gadget also has a 20-second cooldown, which is pretty long in my opinion. Starr Nova's second gadget, Shining Star Friendship and Justice, is pretty straightforward and effective. Why is the name of this gadget so long? So yeah, using this gadget allows you to fire an energy ball sort of thing that slowly travels. It is very slow, by the way, but yeah, if enemies get hit by this energy ball, they will take 1600 damage. But if teammates get hit by this energy ball, they will heal for 1600 health. Now this is where this gadget gets even more interesting. Before the energy ball hits its target, you're able to click on the gadget again and actually teleport to the specific area that the energy ball is in. This can sort of surprise your enemies, and you can teleport to them and try to whack them out of existence. Alternatively, you can use the gadget towards your teammates and also teleport to them as well. And yeah, this gadget also has a 20-second cooldown, which is pretty long in my opinion. Starr Nova's first star power, Power Level Maximum, allows her to deal even more damage with her super. Pretty much every hit that you land with the super, your damage ends up increasing by 5% all the way up to 30%. So at power 11, that translates to 100 extra damage per hit and goes all the way up to 600 damage. So instead of dealing 2000 damage per hit, you can deal up to 2600 damage as long as you're consistently landing your attacks. This is extremely effective because you can eliminate enemies much faster. Even if you don't get up to 2600 damage, you're still able to do 2200 damage, 2300 damage, and so on. Starr Nova's second star power, Mystical Star Technique, allows her main attack to also heal teammates, and that is for 324 health per shot. So if you attack your teammate and land both of your shots, you are healing your teammates for a total of 648 health. Now what's even cooler about the star power is that you can actually charge your super as you heal your teammates. So if you're struggling to charge Starr Nova's super by dealing damage, you can just heal your teammates and charge your super fast, which can be extremely beneficial. But yeah, now that you know how Starr Nova's abilities work, it is now time for me to show you the greatest Starr Nova build in the history of Starr Nova. And if you want to know how to properly draft Starr Nova in ranked and push her trophies, stay tuned because I'll also be covering the best game modes and mistakes to avoid for this brawler. But yeah, starting with the gadget, I decided to go for the floaty time gadget. I found the other gadget to have a lot of issues. Firstly, the energy ball that you shoot is way too slow. Like, look at how slow it is, bro. So it's extremely predictable and easy for enemies to dodge, making the 1600 damage completely useless. Don't get me wrong, the healing aspect and teleportation aspect of this gadget is decent, but the energy ball is way too slow and predictable. The floaty time gadget, on the other hand, is really good. From a defensive perspective, if you're, let's say, pushing into the enemy's brawl ball goal and everyone is low in health, you can deploy this gadget and temporarily float to avoid getting eliminated. And depending on how long you're floating for, you're also able to heal in the air because you're not attacking. This gadget can also be insane offensively depending on how you and your team are coordinating. Like, you can set up a crazy play and have a tank float all the way to the enemy side, like a bull for example, and then once the bull lands onto the enemy side, he can just whack everyone out of existence. One thing that you have to watch out for is the fact that the device slowly loses health over time, and the fact that throwers can easily destroy it. This gadget is a bit complicated overall, but if you use it strategically, it can be very beneficial for dodging enemy attacks and supers. But yeah, moving on to the star power, I went with the power level maximum star power. The other star power was decent because you were able to charge your super by healing your teammates, but I'm not gonna lie, the healing is so minimal and it's honestly not that beneficial. I found the power level maximum star power to be so much better. When using Starr Nova's super, you're gonna be playing aggro and literally spam attacking enemies for the entire duration of the super. You can do an upwards of 600 extra damage with the star power at power 11, which is insane. But yeah, for the first gear, I went with the good old shield gear. Starr Nova has 7,400 health at the max level, which is a decent amount of health for an assassin brawler. But that extra 900 health from the shield gear is so unbeatable, and it brings her health up to 8,300 health, which is extremely solid. This extra health can be helpful, especially when using your super. You're going to be really close up to your enemies, so you'll be taking a good amount of damage during your super. This gear pretty much allows you to stay alive for a bit longer. Moving on to the second gear, I went with the damage gear. Like I mentioned before, you'll be taking some damage when using Starr Nova's super because you're playing at a close range. The damage gear can allow you to deal an extra 15% damage when below 50% health. So if you're using your super below 50% health with this gear, your base damage from the super will go from 2,000 damage to 2,300 damage at power 11. And your main attack damage will go from 1,080 to 1,242 damage. Now that you know the best possible build for Starr Nova, let's talk about the game modes that you should play her in and some common mistakes that you should avoid. Now, I'm going to be honest, Starr Nova is pretty solid in all the main game modes, so let's break down the top 3 best game modes that you should play Starr Nova in. The first game mode is the good old Brawl Ball. This was personally my go-to game mode for Starr Nova, and she is honestly great in this game mode. One mistake I see players doing with Starr Nova is using the floaty time gadget incorrectly, especially in Brawl Ball. Like, bro, I've seen players use the float gadget to sabotage teammates from scoring goals. Some players also use the floaty gadget at their own goal when enemies with the ball are pushing, and that results in the enemies getting a free goal. You really want to be smart with this gadget and use it to push you and your teammates in. Alternatively, you can use it to dodge, let's say, a Fang super or even a Tara super. Starr Nova's mechanics are great in Brawl Ball. You can literally wipe out the entire team using her super, and this star power makes it 10 times easier. The strategy is to play passively with your main attack and wait to get your super. The moment you get your super, use it at the right time when pushing with your teammates, and boom, easy goals just like that. Moving on to the second game mode that you need to use Starr Nova in, Gem Grab. Gem Grab is just a classic, and Starr Nova is really good in this game mode, especially for ranked and trophy pushing. One mistake that you definitely need to avoid though is supering into the enemy team with all the gems. I see a ton of players doing this with all sorts of brawlers like El Primus. I mean, they just super into the enemy team with all 10 gems, and we end up losing the game, bro. Instead of using your super into the enemy team, use it towards your spawn point and leverage the fast movement speed so that you don't get whacked out of existence. Gem Grab is all about controlling the center of the map, and I feel like Starr Nova does a great job with doing that, especially because of her decent range. Like I mentioned before, she does lack some damage from the main attack, but as long as you have a strong team comp, you should be able to do enough damage altogether. And finally, the third game mode that you need to play Starr Nova in is Hot Zone. Starr Nova does a great job with controlling the hot zone point. Even when the enemy has complete control of the point, you can leverage Starr Nova's super and whack enemies off the hot zone point. Now, I mentioned before that Starr Nova is great in all the main game modes, so aside from these top 3 game modes, you can also use her in Bounty, Knockout, Heist, and even Solo Showdown. But yeah, if you enjoyed this video, click on this video to see a full guide on how to use Edgar in Brawl Stars.